Chestnut Ridge Middle School, good afternoon. Today we have our second solo interview. The very brave and very well-spoken Melanie Ortiz is going to be interviewing Mr. Ariel Borujow. Ariel is a Grammy Award winning recording engineer who has an absolutely extensive career. You guys can check him out online at arielborujow.com. And I think at this time we can ask away.
All right. Well, to start things off, for just like not even questions or anything, I've been really excited for this since I really want to pursue a career in music production and music in the
What would
future.
you like to do?
I don't know, like rapping or singing or just music producing. I'm
Great.
still in it.
Good.
All right. First, what got you into music production?
The curiosity of sound and how records sound. That's what got me interested. And finding my first guitar in my grandparents' closet.
Yeah. All right. Question. Are you happy with your job?
I love it. I love it. I have the best job. Every day, it doesn't seem like work. I'm just having fun. I'm making music every day.
I mean, that's why I want to pursue a career in that too, because like if it's just you're doing something you love, then
That's it.
It's just like that's what I want to do. I don't want to stay in an office all day. and all that stuff.
Absolutely. And it's a lot of hard work too, trust me.
Are you a part of any movements or protests?
Well, so I am on you could say it's a prestige coalition. It's called the Producer and Engineer Wing for the Grammy Association. So every major city gets voted, has members that are voted in, and they handpick them. Not voted, they handpick them. And I've now been on the same committee for, it's going to be 5 years. So I'm on a committee with some of the best people in New York. So there's a group in LA, there's New York, there's Atlanta, Miami, and I believe Philly.
So all like the major cities in the U.S.
Yeah, most of them, yeah.
Did you consider jobs other than producing before?
Well, my job specifically that I have a passion for is what is called a mix engineer. So my job is when everything is finished, the song is recorded, produced, like let's say the songwriting's done, they recorded it, they put the song together, and they're completely finished with all of the pre-production, we call it. Then my job is to take all of the individual elements and put the puzzle together, whether you want to say it's on a big mixing board or I do everything inside of a computer. And my job is to make it sound good. So for instance, if you have a song that's like, let's say a love song, and you say, I want it to sound like I'm in a big hall, then I can take your voice and make it sound like, even though you sang it in a small room, I can make it sound like you sang it in a
so you like add effects and stuff.
reverb, delay, and all of that.
You don't have to answer this question, but how much do you make in a year?
Between $0 and $1 million a year.
Good answer. Is there a field in producing or mixing that you're especially good at?
Mixing, for sure. I think it comes natural to me. I've always been good. It was a natural progression for me because I've worked with a lot of people in the recording studio. And when you work in the recording studio as an engineer, you're pretty much like the leader. You know everything, and it's your room. So
it takes leadership then.
yes, it does, but quiet leadership. So the point is when you're in a recording studio, the artist they're in their most vulnerable time. So they're creating what's in their heart, and that's how they express themselves, right, through a song. So you have to be very careful how you speak to them and how you move the energy in the room, if that makes sense.
So you need to be careful, but like.
You're like a psychiatrist.
Oh.
Yeah.
Let's see. Is it difficult sometimes?
Very difficult. Sometimes an artist has a hard time. Sometimes they have a hard time expressing themselves to you or what they want. So sometimes there could be a little little pushback, but it's your job is to make them comfortable. So really what I have to do is just facilitate and make sure that they can get their point across in the song.
So yeah, like a psychiatrist then basically?
Pretty much.
Great.
I'm a sonic psychiatrist, that's what I call it.
How did you get discovered in the music community?
I worked hard. I started off when I was 19 years old. I went to school and I started interning, working for free for 2 years. I didn't have money growing up, so I didn't have much help. I wasn't born in this country, so I had a bit of a struggle in the beginning, so nothing was handed to me and I just had to work hard, and I made relationships and I treated people with respect, and I didn't have any enemies, and I just kept working hard and smiling.
You need to be peaceful also.
What's that?
You just need to be neutral. Like.
You just have to not make enemies and just smile. It's music.
Ariel, I'm sorry to interrupt you. What country were you born in?
Argentina.
Thank you.
How did you start producing? Like, how did I don't know.
How did I start?
Yeah.
It actually started in 8th grade when you guys wouldn't even know these stereo systems when I was in 8th grade, but I didn't want to sing. They had a choir and I refused to sing, so the teacher offered to let me run the music for the choir, and they had like these equalizers on the stereo, and I would just mess with that, and that was the beginning for me.
That's cool.
Yeah, weird, right? At 8 years old.
Yeah. Who or what inspired you?
I think my father for his work ethic, and as far as the music industry, I learned from a lot of people. I think one of the most influential people that I learned from was Sean Puffy Combs, because working for him was, if you can work with him, he was very tough to work with.
You're talking about P. Diddy?
Yeah.
Okay.
They call him Puff Daddy now.
Now he's called Puff Daddy.
He's
Okay.
back to Puff Daddy.
Thank you.
Yeah, he taught me, just watching his work ethic and how he created his empire. It was pretty inspiring, and I was very young when I started. I was 22, 21 years old.
What was your experience with Kanye West?
Is this on record?
Yeah.
I can't talk too much about that experience, but my first experience was, I saw Kanye when he just started in the business, working for a producer named Derek Angeletti, who was one of Puffy's main producers. And many years later, after Kanye started producing for Jay-Z, he just came out with I think it was the record Izzo, and worked with him then. It was a good experience, and then we worked on a artist named Carl Thomas, who was an R&B singer for Bad Boy Records, and that wasn't such a great experience.
I mean, did it not go well over there?
He flipped out. It wasn't my fault. We'll just leave it there.
All right.
Kanye West.
Is there a genre of music that you favor most?
I love hip hop. I love electronic music. I love rock music. I love heavy metal. I like funk. It's everything.
So, yeah,
It depends what I wake up to, you know? This morning I woke up to jazz. Yesterday I woke up to Motown. It depends, you know?
What's the weirdest or strangest place you've gotten inspiration?
That's a really good question.
That is.
Wow. I think I was on the West Coast, and I went into a coffee shop, and I was in Northern California, and I sat on the edge of a cliff by myself, drinking coffee and just looking at the waves, and that was where I got no problem.
That's a situation you don't like.
That doesn't happen
You don't
every day.
Roosevelt, it's okay.
You said alternative rock, and I don't know. I just want to. I'm a big fan about alternative rock. So
Okay.
I don't know. I just want to talk about that.
Let's
like,
talk
what's your
about it.
favorite band or musician?
I was a big fan of Nirvana. I remember when they came out. That was an album that changed my life. I'm a huge fan of Pearl Jam. The Chili Peppers, of course, because the guy who produced the Red Hot Chili Peppers is a gentleman named Rick Rubin. Rick Rubin, if you want to learn about music, you learn about Rick Rubin. He produced the Chili Peppers. He produced for almost every artist you can imagine. He's the reason I got into music, because when I started, he produced the band called Slayer and a group called Run DMC. And if you know that, one is completely death metal and the other one is hip hop, and to have one guy, a white Jewish guy from Long Island produce those two groups was just mind-blowing to me.
It's sad how I got into Nirvana after Kurt Cobain died, and I started listening to them just last year, to alternative rock just last year.
Wow.
And honestly, Nirvana somehow it just made me expand my music taste more. So now I listen to Pearl Jam also. Soundgarden is good. Red Hot Chili Peppers. What's it called? Paramore is good too.
Paramore.
Yeah.
You listen to Screaming Trees. That's another one from Seattle. Nirvana pretty much had they changed music because at the time heavy metal was big, and hair bands were big, and when they came out.
They just changed the whole music scene.
Yeah, it was three guys playing louder and dirtier and more aggressive than anybody.
It's weird how my favorite song isn't by Nirvana, but it's just by Kurt Cobain. It's called "And I Love Her," and I just really like that song a lot.
The song, of course.
It reminds me of Heart Shaped Box because the first part is just
Similar chords.
yeah. Alright, that's it, I guess.
Yeah. See, that was cool, right?
Yeah.
Does that conclude?
Yeah. Thank you for watching the interview. I don't know when the next one will be, but just expect that. Yeah.
I want to thank Melanie for doing an absolutely phenomenal. That was more like, in my book, I had nothing to do with writing the questions. I took a super quick look at them this morning, literally just glanced at them, but I had nothing to do with writing the questions. I thought that the way that she wrote them and the way that she asked them was much more on high school level, as the delivery and the content of the questions themselves.
She's passionate about it.
Yeah, I thought you did a phenomenal job.
I didn't write all the questions. My friend Marion over there helped me with them. I typed all of them down during second period, so it's just all because I was rushing. I didn't know you were going to be here today.
Well, now I'm still recording, so we don't want your second period teacher to hear you.
It's okay.
I'm only teasing, but can I ask one thing that I want to... Ariel has Ariel has a phenomenal work ethic. So Ariel and I moved from Rockland County to the city. He moved 1 or 2 years before me, and then I met up with him there. So I just wanted Ariel maybe to share with some of the young people here how very, very hard. I remember Ariel went through nights where he didn't sleep at all. Where did you used to sleep in Bad Boy? You used to sleep on a pull-out sofa or something like that?
I used to sleep underneath the consoles, the mixing boards, because it was heated underneath.
So
the studios were so cold, so I used to put a sleeping bag underneath the console just to go to sleep.
When I get my own studio, I'm definitely adding meat into a computer.
So it's super. Basically, you're saying that not everybody can make it in the music business.
No, that's why they say it's 1 in a million, and hard work pays off, and persistence. It's the truth. I mean, it sounds cliche, but it is. It's the truth.
I'm usually really lazy, but I'm willing to put in hard work for that.
Don't be lazy.
I'm willing to put in a lot of effort for that.
I used to do 90 to 100 hours a week. Yeah.
So 90 to 100 hours a week. Most students probably study. I would guess a principal's list student probably studies maybe. Oh, God, I don't even want to put a number on it, but I would guess maybe, let's say, 3 hours a day times 5, between 15 to, I don't know, maybe 20 hours a week, even though they're a student and they're still in school. But just to give you guys an idea, it is super hard to make it in the music business. And unless you really persevere like Ariel did.
What did I do one time? The most I did was a little over 52 hours straight. I didn't go to sleep.
That is.
And then the engineer, I was an assistant engineer at the time, and the engineer felt so bad for me, he let me fall asleep in the chair because I couldn't keep my eyes open.
That is phenomenal. Mel, you had no more. Did you have anything else you want to say?
I mean, I'm still thinking about it right now, but like,
Ask anything.
if you could give me like any advice for that, like, to get like somewhere important in the music community, do you have any advice for that?
Don't be afraid in the beginning to offer your services for free in the beginning. So if you want to be a producer, find artists that you want to work with locally, or you have social media now, so you can find anyone you want to work with. You have access. We're all equal on social media, right?
Yeah.
Except the Kardashians. That's a whole different- But you can contact people. So if you see artists that you like, follow them on social media, reach out to them. You want to be a producer, say, I have music for you. If you want to be an engineer and you're close by, I'm willing to give you guys studio time or whatever, and build your career, because really what you want to build is your discography, which is the songs and music that you worked on. So if people want to know who you worked with, they're going to look for that. And don't worry about getting to the top. This was the best advice someone gave me. Don't worry about getting to the top, because once you get to the top, there's only one way out of the top, it's down.
Yeah.
So you always want to go slow and steady, because every time you go up slow and steady, everyone that is before the artist you're working with will want to work with you, and as you keep going, you'll be working with the next artist, and everyone below you is going to want to work with you.
All right.
And that's how you keep a career. Oh, that was really serious.
Guys, thank you so much, and I am going to cut it.